god, Final Fantasy X-3, Square have put the narrative of it back on the freaking table. They've put it on our radar again, and in just as ridiculous a way as they did ages ago. So what's good, my fellow pets, how you doing? I'm going to keep this vid real simple because I'm already deep down in a dive of a theory, which I'm editing. It's going to be so juicy. But I had to cover this, and I don't see it as really any coincidence that it's come up at this exact point in time. This exact point in time, we've got 7 Remake Part 2 going, where we've got Nomura and Nojima and Kitase and a lot of the people who worked even on 10, all back in the room together, all kicking ideas and flowing and probably being sent back into their nostalgic head places. And he's come out and he's put 10-3 back on the table. And it's just the way he's done it is so similar to the last time we heard about this. So we had the CEO of Square Enix, I think it was like 2-3 years back now. And somebody asked him in an interview, yo, what's happening with 10-3? Is it actually going to be a thing? And he said, years back, yeah, it will probably happen. You just have to, quote, wait a little longer. Wait a little longer. So they got people teased, titillated. I mean, not everyone's titillated by it. Some people absolutely hate the idea. And I'm going to show you this poll I did because this is such a crazy split. But before I cover that, it's just the fashion in which Nomura has presented 10-3 again. So he says, if we are to make a 10-3, we somehow have a synopsis written by Nojima. I mean, he's straight up confirmed this will be a sequel if it ever happens. So all of you who want an orange-ect Braska backstory, as cool as that would be, as cool as it would be to see some extra fleshing about the war between Yevon, Zanarkand, and that specific point in time when like the faith was created. Like, there's a lot of juice in the prequel, and I think there's a lot of people wanting to lean towards that. But Nomura goes on to say it's sleeping right now, but the plot itself does exist. And even more ridiculous, he says, the probability of it happening is not 0. The probability is not 0. Okay, that's great. That's great, Nomura. We are not in a phase where we can talk about it unless we have finished producing 7 Remake. Like, even though they have put out an article on it, it still feels like you can't even take it seriously. Like, is this even going to happen? But it is, and I've been convinced for the longest time it is, and I know so many people can have mixed views about that. In fact, I did a poll. This was the result. I was asking, if they did 10-3, would you want it to be the same concepts? And when I say same, I'm not talking like for like as what Nojima wrote in the audio drama and the novella. Like, that stuff is so old right now. And it was just Ultimania stuff. If they actually come to make this into a game, there's going to be so many rewrites. I'm absolutely certain and a little bit hoping that it does have some changes to it, because there was some really great concepts in Nojima's writing and there were some really derpy, ridiculous ones. That's how we got that whole rumor that he had submitted the wrong story when it was the 2.5 novella, and it really convinced people that Nojima had accidentally submitted a fanfic. But yeah, like I was asking you guys, would you want Nojima's concept or something completely rewritten, or leave 10 as it is? And it was almost a 30-30-30 split. Almost a third for each option. So a third of you, and this was out of 436 votes. Thanks for hitting my Twitter. Follow me if you're not on there. And they said, no, leave it as is. So they don't want anything. Just leave 10 as is. And I get this sentiment. A lot of people feel like even 10-2 went too far. That should never existed, and I totally understand that sentiment, because I have such a weird relationship with 10-2. Most of you guys know when I first played, I hated it. I despised that game. It made me vomit. It gave me convulsions. YRP in position, not for me, man. And it was actually years later replaying it that actually 10-2 legitimately hopped to being one of my favorite Final Fantasies. One of my shameful loves. Actually, I'm not even ashamed. It's an unashamed love of mine, that game. I think it's the best that turn-based has ever been. I think that while there was a lot of obviously very cheesy elements in it, a lot of it was actually really quite poignant. I really liked it. This whole notion of Yuna breaking out of this religious cult, of this box that they had shoved her in, and going out and becoming her own person, and she was kind of going on a bit of like a teenage streak. It was a bit girls gone wild, like chick flicky kind of thing. But what I really love with that cycle is how it could then come around into 10.3, into solidifying, because in 10.3, if this is indeed based on the audio drama, which I think it is, this is where we see Yuna actually go back to the Yevon faith, and she actually continues her role as a summoner, even in spite of everything that she uncovered, the hypocrisy, the flaws of it. And we have Oren's daughter Chiwami, who so many people hated, who arrogantly sort of goes up to you and is like, are you being an absolute dingus right now? Why are you listening to these religious morons? No, to which Waka has to tell her to be bigger, be kinder. And what I kind of saw with Yuna was a really empowering arc where she kind of understood the importance of what the Yevon faith, even though it was corrupted, on a structural level, that for the people who practiced it, it was something beautiful, it was something pure, it was something big for their lives. And she sort of recognizes that, like the seed of light, because so many people hate religion, but within every religion, if you just look deep enough, there is a seed of something awesome in that, something that I would actually argue, and so many people disagree, that is actually kind of needed in the world. You know, concepts of like faith and believing in a higher cause or aspiring to higher values. These are kind of things we could sort of easily poo-hoo and push under the carpet, but that's kind of what I've always liked about Final Fantasy. I don't see Final Fantasy as anti-religion. I see it as anti-orchestrated religion, anti-establishment religion. But Final Fantasy has always had a way to then bring it back round and actually see, no, what are still the relevant, beautiful points? And Yuna kind of going back into that role, I would see as being pretty awesome, especially even seeing Yuna and Tidus just as a relationship. And this is what I really want to talk about with the freaking audio drama, is so many people were jaded, I think, by 10.2, or just so many people, when they look at things like concepts, they don't really dive deep. And I'm just the kind of person I always look for the most positive route. Like, what's the best this thing can become? And that's why I'm coming in with 10.3 right now. What could be freaking great about it? I always try to lead towards the side of optimism, and this does lead me to create headcanons and potentials for stories that Square don't even hit the mark with, and I come away more disappointed. A lot of people just like to keep their expectations low and just come at everything with a point of cynicism, and I get that, but I've also seen where that thinking, and 10.3 was a perfect example where it basically disconnects the person from even being able to logically look at the context of something. It really does make them kind of fucking idiots. And what I mean by that is, and I'm sorry if you were one of these people, but what blew my mind with the audio drama is we saw Yuna and Tidus' relationship evolve into not just some fantastical, magical fairy tale romance, you know, which is kind of what it was at the scene and the lake scene, and coming back at the end of 10.2, like these dramatic moments of reunion and outpourings of love. What we never saw with that couple, and I think that out of all the couples in Final Fantasy, they are the strongest to do, is show us a real couple years down the line, going through hardships, going through difficulties. And this is what Nojima was thinking about with the audio drama, is, you know, Tidus becoming a blitzballer again, Yuna go back to some of her duties, and a lot of the tension that put on their relationship, they actually started fleshing them out into a real couple with real problems, having to overcome real freaking things. And I think for a lot of people, they don't even want it to step into that terrain. They want Yuna just as that magical ship. But I'll quickly cover, for any of you guys who don't know, what happened in those audio dramas and novellas very quickly, because this is really, really wacky stuff. So in the 2.5 novella, there's only a few concepts I like them to keep from this. So basically, Yuna and Tidus are going on a holiday. Apparently they bang underneath the boat. Or like it's heavily implied, and then that in some way creates like a pact, because of course, just like the summoner is to her Aeon, or the final Aeon is born from the person the summoner loves most. It actually kind of bonds them even closer. They then go to this, oh no, the ship starts sinking. Yuna falls overboard. Tidus tries to save her but can't. But before he loses consciousness, he sees a giant eject in his Braska's final Aeon form, picking Yuna out of the water. And then they wake up. They're walking around on a beach. Yes, I think Tidus' head does get freaking blown off from trying to kick what he thought was a blitzball. Instead, it was a bomb. Which again, I think that evolves out into Yuna bringing him back. Again, a problem that people have had with the 10 series is the trivialization of death. I've kind of always seen the trivializing death thing as a bit of a tricky thing, especially when the world lore, like the mechanics of the Fireflies and the Far Plane, when it's so similar to the life stream, where the essence of consciousness and life and memory are far more esoteric and connected to the planet. Like these planets kind of have these conscious wills, or everything that makes it is from like life force, memory, souls, whatever you want to call it, and that these conscious qualities, they can be corrupted, and that we have these characters who are here to purify them. Obviously in FF7, it's Jenova and Seth who are trying to corrupt this conscious energy, and it's Aerith trying to purify it. And similarly in 10, Yuna is the purifier, Yuna Leska was the corruptor. And what kind of I could see happening and why they're doing it at this point in time is Square have started doubling down, especially in 7 Remake Part 2, on that concept of purification and how these mechanics work, how these even extend into the wider lore of the universe. This is absolutely what I believe, because when Aerith met those ghosts in the train graveyard, and the train graveyard theme, it might just be a coincidence, but in my mind, it had the hymn of the faith kind of interweaved into the track. You can kind of hear it.
All this time, you were waiting for someone to come and play with you.
I think it's there. But regardless of that, what we kind of saw with Aerith, and this was the first time we'd seen this in 7, is her more or less sending the souls. She was seeing these ghosts trapped in torment and pain and unable to move on. Part of that was, of course, because of the Elegor and whatnot. But then she helps them dissolve. She helps them move past it. And as they dissolved, it was so Firefly-y. Very Firefly-y. Even the way that when they diffused, it sounds exactly like the way that souls were diffusing in FF10. That kind of screechy little jingly sound. Especially when in the train graveyard, Tifa sees Marlene. Fucking Marlene, aka the conscious, the heavy amount of conscious energy in the train graveyard actually coalesced to form for Tifa the person that she was thinking about and most cared about. How is that almost not exactly like the Far Plane? No, in 10, when they go into the Far Plane, the person they see back, the Fireflies construct the one they love most back at them. They have closed the gap between the world mechanics of 10 and 7 so hard. God damn, my voice is going. And they've closed that gap to a point that far extends beyond just, oh, Shinra's an Easter egg. He's just an Easter egg. Nah. And just like in 7 Remake, Aerith is getting these super power-ups from her experiences. She's becoming way more powerful. She's even starting to be able to play with destiny, actually alter the mechanics of the world, the timelines, whatever you want to call it, and whatever it ends up being. This is kind of the only thing I want them to keep from the novella. So after Tidus has been blown up, Yuna's wandering around the island and she actually meets an ancient summoner. I think it's something like 1 or 10,000 years old. It was definitely a whole number. And she meets this summoner and she learns about his story. He's got a really cool, compelling backstory of when he was in love with the summoner, and there was like this little love triangle thing going on. Can't remember too much of the details on that, but anyway, from this ancient summoner, Yuna actually learns what summoners are capable of, and it is far more, like way more than anything we saw in 10 or 10-2. Basically, if she wants, she can use the conscious energy, the Fireflies, to more or less corporealize and manifest anything. Like, she can pretty much control reality. She even asks, oh, so couldn't I just create a boat and sail off from here? And the summoner says she could, but it would come, playing with conscious energy like that comes at a very dangerous price. It could upset the balance and be a violation of the laws of nature. And this is exactly what Sephiroth has the capacity. When he can corporealize things, including himself, at the bridge, from the conscious energy of Cloud, this is the violation that Sephiroth is actively doing. In fact, in Advent Children, Aerith is in the live stream and she sees Seph make the remnants, aka manifested forms of different parts of his psyche. And Aerith wonders if she could do the same, create remnants of herself to go and see Cloud and the gang. But she goes against it because she understands intuitively, again, that would mess up the harmony of things. So yeah, from this we could just see, that's all I really want from 2.5 is just Yuna to get way more souped up powers, and then going into the hello, welcome back. And then going into the audio drama, and this is what I meant by people being cynical to the point where they kind of blind themselves to even the context of things. I remember seeing with that, so Yuna's going around on her travels. We've got Oren's daughter with a guy called Kurgum, he's another summoner. And the summoners' roles have kind of been obviously reduced. There is no sin, there is no pilgrimage needed to be done, but they kind of continue playing their roles. We see that Yuna and Tidus' relationship have been a bit strained. Obviously, the celebrity status that they've both maintained is kind of driving that wedge. But then when Yuna's going on her journeys, she sees some dead souls alive. I think it's a kid who's hugging their mum and is like crying hysterically that their mum's back, and the dad is like shocked. And Yuna's like, she's supposed to be sent. That woman is not supposed to be here. And she looks around and she sees that there's more souls that are basically not sent. And that's when she realized that sin is back, that somebody had the conscious will to bring sin back into existence. And that's when she of course makes the obvious decision after what happened in 10 and 10 freaking 2, which was Tidus had to be the one who took the fall. She knows she has to now beat sin, and she doesn't want Tidus to be the one who dies this time. And that is so obvious, so freaking obvious. And so immediately after finding that out, she goes to Tidus and she breaks up with him, saying she's fallen in love with a dude called Kurgum, who she had only met about 2-3 days ago. And people thought this was real. People were like, I can't believe Square have broken them up so that Yuna can be a hussy. I remember seeing the comment section on it. People had just gone straight over their head. Even though in that audio drama, they then had Kurgum break up with Chiwami, his childhood best mate, just breaks up with her. It's like, no, I'm also in love with Yuna. See you later. They even then went further to have Tidus go to Lulu, and Lulu basically be like, come on, are you being an idiot? Are you being an idiot, Tidus? Go after her. Like, even Lulu made it obvious, and yet there were still people so blind to the context of it. Unreal. But basically, that's really all we had in the outline. Chiwami's really, Oren's really arrogant daughter, Chiwami, who I actually kind of like her personality. I think she fits really nicely. What with the Yevon faith being so exposed now, that she's really heavy-footed and still questioning why people are following this bloody religion when it's obviously been shown to be a bunch of bollocks. And that's why I could think that's 10.3 could really go into like an ideological discussion on the purpose, the point, if there is any point of religion or faith anymore. I definitely think it can expand on, and again, even that little thing there, like somebody consciously wields sin back and they're violating the laws of nature, and it's bringing dead souls back. Look over on 7 Remake, man. Zack's back, live stream or not, because I definitely think he's still in the live stream. That parallel absolutely exists of Zack being brought into the world when he shouldn't be. We've got Aerith hitting point for point almost everything that Yuna also comes up against in terms of their duties versus the ones they love. They're in the timeline, or if they ever meet, like what kind of decisions is Aerith going to have to make about Zack? You know, this could be a thing about duty over love. Which comes freaking first? This would absolutely be a pinnacle to Yuna's character, in my opinion. First game was about duty, second was about pursuing herself and love. She was doing everything just to bring back Tidus, and she fucked up her duties completely. And now we could see the middle path emerge. What is the balance? What is the more mature, integrated route of where she's going to take her life? And then even just on a wider scale, and this is kind of what I've always perceived as the most logical route. Remember when somebody said it to me, I was like, nailed it. I love the idea, and I think even Dissidia kind of supports this, that when we have these planets, these worlds in Final Fantasy that are basically born from conscious energy, whether it's the Leaflet Tree or Ether in 14, like as I'm going deeper into 14, I'm even starting to see the parallels of 14 and the life stream. Somebody said to me the idea of what if the way that Shinra came from the world of 10 over to 7, because this is the really hard part to work out, is does that mean that Shinra were the first Cetra, or does that mean that space travel happened at some other weird point in time? Because we're led to believe that Sid Highwind is the first one to accomplish spaceflight. And I always need to clear this up because this was a mistranslation. A lot of people think that Cetra hopped from planet to planet. That was a mistranslation. The Cetra were not aliens. They were born on the planet of FF7, and they actually meant continent to continent. So when the hell could Shinra's ancestors have come over from that universe? How could it have been possible? Well, just like how the heroes come from the A and the B worlds, these planets have wheels. So what if we're talking like Square could be teeing up from this planetary wheels, as in a universe where all these different planets, you know, they have their life, they have their time, that memory is nurtured and seeped and ingrained into the planet, and then at the point of that planet dying, which is so covered in obviously 7 Remake, Sephiroth saying this planet is gonna die, Bugenhagen saying it's the fate of every planet to die, and just like we've seen with the Cosmos live stream, against Sephiroth looking up saying we'll be a part of it one day. Basically, we have learned at this point over the compilation of Final Fantasy that there is a big web of cosmic conscious energy out in the universe, and I could see it that when one planet dies, what if the will of it joins up to the cosmic life stream, goes and nurtures a new planet, and that parts of that memory, that inspiration, that past life, if you will, because that is where it would be, kind of goes on to subtly influence the new planet. This is what Omega, the weapon, does. It packs up the souls and it moves it on. That's what Genova did. I mean, the whole thing that Unaleska could be Genova, and that Genova or any whatever boss they even have in 10.3, I don't know, could have taken some of the mimetic legacy of a planet and repurpose it to form a new planet. This is what Sephiroth was saying when he said he's going to do what his mother did. He's going to take the souls, fashion them in his mimetic legacy, aka his will, his conscious bias, whatever you call it, and he's going to take them to a new planet, and on that create a shining new world. Well, these new worlds, all of these Final Fantasy worlds, is it possible that when a planet dies, its willpower essentially moves on out into the universe and can have subtle but a very tangible and real influence on that planet? What if Shinra in 7 is just a mimetic construct coming over from whatever willpower came over from the Spira universe? I don't know. I'm not really. This sounds really complex and convoluted, but there's a much more elegant way for me to be expressing this. I mean, on a cosmological level, at least, it makes sense to me. We're all stardust, baby. This planet, every star is made from the formation of other stars collapsing and colliding and smashing and exploding. And if what we've learned is that the very building blocks of these planets is all conscious, well, what happens when that process collides and smashes and moves on to reform new worlds? Could that be how this 7 and 10 link is actually something canonical? And that's actually what Square Enix are thinking about. And that's why, just as they're doing this 7 Remake Part 2, that they've had this brain cannon for 10.3 and that they're now considering it. I think that is the case, but let me know what you guys think. I could personally see a path where 10.3 is actually good. And that's why, for now, I'm voting that I actually want it to happen, and that Nojima, run with your concept, man. There's things that you need to cut away and do away with, but that's just going to naturally happen in the process of fleshing out a game. What this would actually look like and play like? Would it be turn-based? Would they try to keep the same engine and visuals as 10 and 10.2, or would they be looking to PS5ificate that stuff? Like, would this be a AAA project, or would this be more a mid-range to flow with the aesthetic styles of the previous games? I think if they were to do 10.3, they'll scrap the bulk of the 2.5 novella, they'll keep most of the audio drama, and it will be an absolute rip-roaring shitfest from the day it's announced to the day it's released, where everyone will lose their goddamn minds about sequels and 10.2 being 10. Oh my god, I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it. Thanks for watching, guys, and that Philosophy of Chaos feed is on its way real soon. I'm almost done. So hit that subscribe, notify all if you want to see it when it lands. Until the next video, guys. Keep out.